Viewers and subscribers, this is VVI Channel 1, where we tell you undiluted truth. Nigerians, have you not heard that this failed government of impunity, led by APC, have succeeded in destroying every hope of Nigerian to end bad governance come next year, 2027, by the National Assembly led by Akpabio rejecting the electoral reform that will ensure electronic transmission of result, making it a law and mandatory for INEC.
We felt, those of us who are still around, that it would be necessary to make a clarification of what happened yesterday, to put the records straight. Yesterday, the Senate did not, I repeat, did not pass transfer of results, which was in the 2022 Act. What we passed, and which the Senate President himself, when he was doing a clarification sitting on his chair, is transmission of results. And I need to make this very clear. Every one of us who is a senator, who has the privilege to represent a senatorial district, came here under the trust of their senatorial zone. And the reason for us to go into a closed session was so that we can tidy up all the niggling things inside there. And when we now come back to plenary to pass it, that we will pass it without any rancor. I can assure you, on my honor and the honor of all of us who are standing here, that both the Electoral Committee of the Senate, then the Ad hoc Committee of the Senate, and also in the executive session that we had, that we all agreed on section 63, which is electronic transmission of votes. Electronic transmission of results. Transmit, not transfer. What is in 2022 is transfer. And we don't want a law that is vague. We don't want a law that will be misinterpreted by anybody. We want a law that is clear, concise, and can be interpreted by all, and that is unambiguous. So it is electronic transmission of results. Yes, thank you. I think we can end it here because we've done what.
And he came boldly to come up with this cock and bull story.
There was no deliberate attempt on the part of the Nigerian Senate to delay the amendment of the Electoral Act. Our intention had always been to ensure that we do our best, and we do it painstakingly, taking our time to ensure that what comes out reflects the yearnings and aspirations of all Nigerians, and also to be sure that the next election, all questions connected with the next election will be answered by the amendments to the Electoral Act 2022. But the social media already is awash with the fact that the Senate has rejected electronic transmission. That is not true. That is not true. Electronic transmission had always been in our act. And what we did was to return the electronic transmission, which had been in our act, and which was used in 2022. So please do not allow people to confuse you. If you are in doubt, we will make up our final votes and proceedings available to you if you apply and you are entitled, so that you will see this Senate, under my watch, has not rejected electronic transmission of results. It's in my interest as a participant in the next election for such to be done. So please don't go with the crowd. Don't go with the crowd. We have retained what was in the previous provision. That's all we did. So if we rejected what was proposed by way of amendment and said, let's retain what was in the previous provision, the previous provision had made allowance, had made provision for electronic transmission. So it is still there as part of our laws. And I think we should be moving forward, not moving backwards. There is no way we can, in this era of electronics, will now be going backwards.
Can you imagine? This man thought he is speaking to illiterates. He is speaking to dafts. That Nigerians are fools. You have fooled Nigerians in 2023. But you cannot fool Nigerians this time around. But what bothers me is, since this news came up yesterday, what are the opposition leaders doing about it? To start with, Peter Obi, the hope of Nigerians, what are you doing about it? And mind you, for Nigerians, there is nothing like 2027 election without the mandatory transmission of election result from polling unit electronically, making it a law and mandatory for INEC to do so, without which there will be no election come next year. You cannot waste the time of everyone and resources in the name of conducting another charade come 2027. This man thought that we are all fools. And everybody's going about as if to say everything is normal, everything is okay. Nothing is okay. In fact, that should spark the revolution we are even talking about. That Nigerians must make a stand and make one demand. If election must hold next year, the National Assembly and the government must pass it into law. Electronic transmission of result. If that is not done, forget about election. There will be no election next year. Whatever that will be conducted next year is a mere charade. They want to continue in the old cycle of sitting in a hotel, writing an election result and calling it out as a result for Nigerians as an outcome of an election. Don't forget, it was challenged in court after 2027 presidential election by the opposition. And the Supreme Court came up and told us that INEC has the powers to roll out the standard procedures for that election, and whatever they do stands. And what did INEC do? INEC told us that their act in conducting election do not mandate them to transmit electronically. You see, these guys think that we are fools. That will not continue. And I can tell you, this guy, it may be confusing. This guy had already made it in a simple way for you to understand. If what I'm saying is not making sense to you, listen to him.
I think what the Senate has done by this act is to betray the trust of Nigerians. And not just betray the trust of Nigerians, is to make rubbish of all the gains that we've made. Because what happened today is a regression and a dangerous retreat to some of the lofty reforms that were introduced by the 2022 Electoral Act. The Senate President, I completely disagree with the Senate President. He's just being clever by half. Because what he is saying is that the ruling of the Supreme Court in the 2023 elections, they were very clear that electronic collation or transmission was unknown to the law, that INEC cannot, by virtue of its guidelines, introduce electronic transmission, and the IREF, it's clear. And so what the National Assembly, particularly the two committees in the National Assembly, was to take that judicial pronouncement and update the law, because when the extant law says it shall be by a procedure determined by INEC, INEC went ahead in its guideline, determined the procedure, but the court now said, no, you have to insert it in the law. And the report before them, because I was part of the technical committee that was part of this entire process, what the House passed was that electronic transmission will be part of this process. In fact, the report also mentions the IREV. So I think that the Senate President is lying to Nigerians, because that's not what was provided in the report. It was clear, electronic transmission of results. But that's not also the only thing. One of the things that the Senate has also done is introduce some draconian provisions that will undermine the preparations for the 2023 election, especially logistics. What they have done, they've compressed the time frame. The reason why the 2022 Electoral Act provides that 360 days issue notice, campaign conduct of primaries, was to allow for logistics. What they have done now is to say that primaries will hold, about 90 days, and then INEC will publish the list of candidates 60 days to elections. For heaven's sake, when is INEC going to produce the ballot papers? And so we're going to run into a lot of logistical challenges, for the 2027 elections. If you look at one of the things the bill also does, and the place of the report, is that it makes it compulsory for presiding officers to compare results transmitted electronically and the ones collected manually. Yeah. What they have now done is to jettison that particular provision.
And that is it. What is shocking is that the opposition are just keeping quiet up till now. In fact, this should have been at everybody's lips, that there will be no election come 2027 if the law did not mandate INEC to electronically transmit every election result. That is the only thing that can guarantee, to a large extent, free and fair election, as it is so called. And that is where we stand. No need talking about ballot revolution. No need people standing on the pool in their mass to vote, and some urchins, some few urchins, are somewhere rewriting election results, mutilating results sheets. And also, I must tell you that Nigerians will also make a demand. You see this one they call National Road Transport Workers, led by Oluomo, which we know is an affiliation of APC under Tinubu, must not be used by INEC in any election moving forward in Nigeria to distribute electoral materials. These are the ways they rig elections. You cannot be a referee in the match you are playing. You cannot be INEC. You be the ruling party. You be the judge. It's not possible. And Nigerians must stand against it, or else we are all deceiving ourselves. I want you to help me share this so that Nigerians will understand what is at stake. I went out this morning and everybody just going about as, oh, nothing happened. But I can tell you, that hustling you are going out for, that business, for that job hunting, for that school runs, and everything you are doing amounts to nothing. If these guys succeed, Nigerians should rise up. Nigerians, I am speaking. I am ready to be on the front line. The question is, who will follow? In the 36 states of Nigeria, I charge you to charge your state assemblies, to charge your representatives at the National Assembly to speak up. It is not a mere nays have it or years have it at the national. No, it's a mandatory law they must pass, because the supremacy of Nigeria lies with the people and not with the few politicians in power. We must activate that power of the people. Else, we will all be slaves in the country you call your own, if at all you have any. My name is Asuchenot Peters. Help me share this video. It is more important than that thing you are doing for work in Nigeria. Because without which, we all will be recycled here in this country as slaves to this political class. My name is Asuchenot Peters, your advocate for good governance. Help me share this video to everyone. And let me have your take on the comment section. Bye-bye for now.